Prepare yourself, Dan Saiyan.
If you are chronically online like I am, then you probably come across this post as well. And as someone who is in Dragon Ball news groups, meme groups on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, especially Facebook, like these types of posts garner so much attention, thousands of views, millions of views at that sometimes, and reposts and comments, and they just explode these accounts like Untold DBS, and there's a bunch of various ones out there just like this that spread all this misinformation. Now, I'm not going to be standing here as a pinnacle of not spreading misinformation, because I think as a Dragon Ball YouTuber who does news from time to time, especially if you're trying to get a news point out relatively quickly or whatever the case, and you don't want to verify, other people have done it too. Sometimes you do the same thing, but there are certain channels and certain actual Facebook pages and accounts that this is all they do, and they propel this stuff as fact, as reality, which it is not. Again, I can tell you right now off the bat, this is not real. A new Dragon Ball movie based on Vegeta's past is getting to release in 2026. Not real whatsoever, has not been verified. Nobody else is talking about it besides a few of these Facebook groups and Twitter groups who are reposting this garbage. And honestly, they need to be more creative as to the stories that they're trying to peddle as the future of Dragon Ball, because this is by far not one of the laziest and most boring takes out there. There is actually a version of this, a certain character that actually has no backstory whatsoever, is incredibly important not only to the future of Dragon Ball, but also the current Dragon Ball power dynamic, and has zero anything to do with his backstory. Like, there's nothing really that we've known about him. We've only seen maybe one clip of him being younger in the entirety of Dragon Ball. And so I'm gonna be telling you exactly in this video who is more worthy of a story, a backstory that will actually even connect to the future of the Dragon Ball manga, but also the anime and movies, and it can actually set up something really, really cool, and it can sell on his name alone. I think that's probably why they chose Vegeta like this, because we already know Goku's backstory. Vegeta, we know the majority of his backstory. We are missing a few parts, but remember, when Vegeta lands on Earth, he's in his 20s. Okay, so he doesn't really have much of a backstory there, and then we see him again in DBS Broly. In the beginning of DBS Broly, we see him with zero to little no reaction of his planet getting destroyed, which I feel like they missed an opportunity of giving him a little bit of emotion to his child character, and not having just Raditz be the one that's upset about this, and give a little bit more to Vegeta, maybe like a little zoom in on his face, like as he's thinking about it, because we do see that Vegeta cares about the fact that he's enslaved by Frieza. We see that he cares about his planet and his people being destroyed when he is dying, and he's crying to Goku, explaining to him everything that he has gone through. You can tell the trauma is there, and Vegeta's not a soulless monster. So they missed an opportunity in DBS Broly to really give him that a little bit, like a slight moment of focusing on his trauma a little bit, right? But besides that, in Dragon Ball Z, we see Vegeta running around training. We see Nappa being his guardian. We see him with a new hairstyle. We see him just taking orders from Frieza, and then it just connects all the way to right before Dragon Ball Z, where he is traveling and he goes to that planet with Nappa. I don't know if you guys remember that. I don't know if the new Dragon Ball Z Kai has this portion in it, but the original broadcast did, where they land on that bug planet, and then they take out the whole planet. Basically, they overthrow the government on it, and then they destroy the entire planet for fun. Like, it's a really interesting story, because it is a Vegeta Nappa centric story that really is unique to Dragon Ball Z's original broadcast. But we get him going to Earth as a 20-year-old. So we already kind of have Vegeta's entire backstory, and Vegeta's backstory as, say, like a ruthless Saiyan really only extends from the point where he's a kid all the way till maybe early 20s, and that's it. So we're missing his teenage years. That's basically it. That's not something that needs an entire movie. His backstory as a ruthless teenage Saiyan would be better served in somebody else's story. We just get to see Vegeta be ruthless in the background or something along those lines. That'd be pretty cool to see. But with Vegeta, we already got a lot of him. We already got a lot of him in Dragon Ball Super in the manga, we basically, he loves Earth, he loves his family. We've moved past the Majin Vegeta-esque portion of Vegeta's backstory. We've moved past that darkness inside of him. So that's not interesting at all. Who is interesting, who would set up the future of Dragon Ball, who would set up a bigger universe in Dragon Ball and would be exciting and can sell on his name alone, would be a Frieza backstory. A Frieza backstory would do numbers. The number one character that people really want to see that hasn't been implemented from the movies in Dragon Ball Super is Cooler. Cooler is by far the character, and there's so much to him as well. There's his original design. There's the design where he gets really, really big and bulky, and it's really, really cool. Then we get the one where he gets on the Big Getty Star, and he becomes essentially Ultron. Like there's really cool backstories to Cooler and his connection to King Cold and his connection to Frieza. But why stop there? A backstory to Frieza and how he was like raised essentially would answer a lot of different questions about him and could even grant some humanity to him. There is a Dragon Ball fan manga here where there is told by Lady Tigri. She's the one that wrote it. This Dragon Ball fan manga explains Frieza's backstory as a child and him having a Saiyan friend, showing his connection to the Saiyans very early on, and then him losing that and then becoming more evil. Obviously, it's fan made. I wouldn't want this route for an official story for Frieza because I would want Frieza to be in the same lane as he was in his original telling when he first came out, like the youngest that he was in DBS Broly, where he is sniping the Saiyan snipers, and he gets the planet Vegeta for his own backyard basically, and then eventually takes over for King Cold. So I would want him, it would have to be before that, right? And so you would have to have a very, very villainous Frieza, but have him go up against a Cooler that possibly could be maybe not as evil or maybe a little bit more level-headed, because Cooler was more level-headed, less prone to his emotions than Frieza ever was. And so Cooler could have been, with his name suggests, Cooler could have had like a cooler head on him and be far less like, and it'd be far more political. You could even add another sibling or two, or maybe more of the King Cold family in this universe. And the universe is big. Like if you add these characters in there really is not going to be too much of a question as to where they've been these last 30 years or whatever the case is, because the universe is so big, and realistically you could put off this portion of the universe to be Frieza's domain, and then the other parts of the universe are cut up into other Saiyans, other Frieza race's domain, or other family members' domain, and that would be really, really cool. That would be such a cool direction to go for the story, because you could add a lot of lore to not only Universe 7, but how it connects to the rest of the universes, what the Frieza race actually is, what it's called, the lineage of it, and it leads to what Frieza is. Because at this point in time in Dragon Ball Super, Frieza is realistically the most potential-est character, the strongest character in Dragon Ball, with his new transformation, Black Frieza, and him training in the hyperbolic time chamber with no definitive age on him, because he seems to be able to be a lot older than anybody else in Dragon Ball. He can live in the vacuum of space. He has unlimited potential. He can train for a little bit and get to the points of Golden Frieza, which can rival Super Saiyan Blue. Like, he has the most potential of any character. So any backstory could give us more information about that, could give us more information to the future, could literally tell us, could show us all his siblings, and then that leads us to the next arc of Dragon Ball, where Black Frieza, as Toyotaro has stated, will return, and he will be a big part of the story, and then we could have all that information from the Frieza movie. We can have all that lore built up, so that way we can go into this future of Dragon Ball and actually maybe even meet more of Frieza's family. But that ultimately is the direction that I would have gone with this. I feel like this is a better route than anything else that the internet and these meme people are creating at the moment with their false lies on the future of Dragon Ball, because Vegeta's story would be just so terrible in my opinion, and just a wasted opportunity. But a Frieza story, that is the true future of Dragon Ball.
Subscribe for more content.